Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coach's Cup podcast. I am Sonya Green from Sonya Green Coaching.
And I'm Judith Fender. I'm a coach for the No BS weight loss program.
And today we're here to talk about kind of a heavy topic, loneliness.
Well, that's a thought.
Yep, that is. I guess loneliness, to me, here's how I divide it. Loneliness is a heavy topic. Being alone, for me, is a very happy topic. I should explain that later. I love my family very much.
Of course.
I'll explain that.
So loneliness for me, I'm like looking at you going, is this my, I don't know, in doing the research for this and considering, I think about it like all the past versions of me and my relationship with loneliness and my relationship with myself and like where I'm currently at. And I think I've got a really good relationship with it, but my coach's heart, my human heart has a passion for people like we were when we were pre-gaming for the condition and for people who are in the loop and the story of the emotion of loneliness. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think one of the things that causes loneliness to be such a big topic, and we will talk about the impact that it has on the population, on the culture at large, but we see it as this state of being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's, a person is in this state of being of loneliness. And we don't always see that with other more negative emotions, because in the end, loneliness it's just a feeling, right?
Right. And it doesn't have to be a problem.
No.
And that's the other thing is, there's so much, when you think of someone being lonely or it doesn't come up with great, you're like, oh yeah, they're lonely. Oh, poor them. They're just so lonely.
Because it's a state of being. It's this thing that they're in.
Mm-hmm. When in fact, that state of being can be relieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about, I guess we could talk about why we know that, or how we know that it's also very different for everybody. What constitutes loneliness is different for everybody. For me, we were talking about this earlier. I have felt my loneliest in life, not when I was alone, not when I was by myself, but when I was in a relationship where I didn't have a connection with that person, where there was a disconnect.
Right.
And I can say that although now I rarely ever feel loneliness, the one time I can say I feel lonely is if I'm in a group of people I don't know very well.
No kidding.
It's true. It's true. Loneliness is being alone is easy for me. Right. As an only child, we've talked about this before. I grew up by myself, me and the animals on the farm. I don't need somebody there to entertain me. I'm very good at entertaining myself.
Agreed. Same.
But it's when I am with a group of people where I have some kind of social anxiety about that. And so that's when the whole loneliness kicks in, the emotion.
Again, I don't know if right now, if I'm just not in a state to consider where I have been lonely. But I looking back, I do think I can say with some certainty, it's always been my relationship with myself, because people have always been available to me. But in the periods where I have been my most lonely, it is, of course, the story I was telling myself and what it was making it mean,
Yes.
and not looking inward or finding the common humanity of the experience, seeing it as a normal emotion and my opportunity to check in with myself, right? And just not having that ability. I hope
Yeah.
I'm making sense.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. In fact, I think that helps for me, that helps ground it, moving it back to the model. If we think about loneliness, excuse me, just a minute. My dog is playing with a plastic bag.
You can't hear him. No.
He's just like wrapping it all over the place.
Oh, that is a big bag.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If we think about it from the point of view of the model, loneliness is an emotion, and it's usually caused by a thought, I'm all alone, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, for me, loneliness is a very heavy, kind of achy feeling. It's not something that we're really ready to jump in and feel. Yeah. But it comes from that thought, I am alone. That's why, when I feel it, I say sometimes it's a social anxiety feeling. I'm in a room of people, but my thought is, I don't have anything in common with these people, or I'm somehow different than these people. That's the story that I'm telling myself.
Yeah. It's so interesting hearing you say that, because my anxious brain was to jump in on that. And I'm like, when I'm in a room with people, I tell I'm like, we have a lot in common, because I know they're thinking the same bullshit I am. Like, I know there's people just like me in here. All our brains are just telling stories. And that again, that just kind of helps ground me. But the loneliness feeling is eluding me at the moment. But
oh yeah, I think back, especially there was a period in my early 20s where, all my friends had boyfriends or they had fiancés, and I was never going to find somebody. In fact, I remember somebody teasing me. They were being very lighthearted because they thought the idea of me ending up old and alone was just ridiculous, but it was so heavy on my heart.
Right.
That when they teased me, I teared up, and they were like, "Oh, I was teasing."
Oh.
And to me, that's the epitome of what I think of when I think of loneliness. It's just that story that we build up. I am so unlovable. I am so unworthy. Who could ever possibly?
Yeah, I can't cope being alone.
Yeah.
Right. Which is therein leads into the issues with loneliness, what we do with the feeling, right? Yeah. Coping with TV, food, alcohol to avoid the feeling.
Yes. Buffering for loneliness is huge. Mm-hmm. Shopping, there's just all kinds of things that people do because they don't want to feel this heavy, achy feeling of loneliness.
My brain, I'm sitting here going, I'm like, wait a minute. This is really, let's go to the deeper question is, what do we do? How do humans live on this earth and not engage in any type of buffering? Is that possible? Like, wait a minute.
Oh, wow. That's a topic for another podcast.
Like, you know, what's wrong with a little shopping?
Are you feeling like I was pointing you out?
Yeah, were you pointing your finger at me, Sonya? What?
No, not at all. That's funny. Yeah, that is a question that we could ask at some point. But it does. It creates buffering. Mm-hmm. And it also creates medical problems. I don't want to diminish the topic and I don't want people to hear us saying it's just a feeling, folks, get over it, because that's not what we're saying, right? One study that I looked at said that if you feel alone, if you are living in this loneliness, that you have a 340% higher rate of premature death.
That number.
That's huge.
Like, one, how can they come up with that? But two, that is so big. I can't even.
Yeah. Even something small, like people who are feeling loneliness, a cut on their hand will not heal as quickly. So we're not saying it's not a real thing, but we are saying that it is an emotional thing. It is a mind thing that we can overcome.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing in some of the research that I did, you know, it's going to impact mostly like the 18 to 30 age group, and our seniors, right? Like the vulnerable populations is that middle group, not so much experiencing, you know, the married, settled, working, finding satisfaction in life. It's the ones trying to figure it out, and the ones who could be, you know, I watched this one Norwegian study. It was super interesting about, you know, where she was going. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of the speaker on the TED Talk, but talking about how the elderly population, how we, just by technology alone, that how we are eliminating the elderly population in communication, like that they don't have the capacity to figure out Zoom, or, you know, can they go to the store, buy a computer with the apps already set and be set up, because of the process of, you know, they've been kind of left behind, if you will, and left alone, and with their brains being lonely.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I mean, I do think that it is a real problem. And that, yeah, that defines it a lot. We looked last year for something for my grandmother to kind of help her feel more connected. And it was a device where it was kind of like you could FaceTime her,
right?
But with her, she had some dementia, and we felt like it wasn't right for her. But I thought that's such a great device. My dad has an old phone that we always tease him about. He doesn't even have Wi-Fi. You know, no computer, no nothing. But I would say he has other ways that he can get out and communicate and do things, you know, so it's not just that, but it is that, because I can't text him. I can't, you know, if I want to talk to him, I have to call him, and, you know, that's on me, but I am not a big phone person. So it's much easier for me to just text. Do you need anything? I'm at the store. Do you need anything?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, my son, if I'm going to talk to him, it's going to be a text 3 days later.
Yeah. Boys.
Yeah. The phone call does not happen. Oh, what does it ring? You mean you can talk into this? Anyway.
Yeah. What is that thing? That's funny. So loneliness is a serious issue in our population. And, you know, sometimes there are people in that middle group who also deal with loneliness. But I think if we can help solve it with thought work, then what a gift to people, especially those young people.
Oh, you know, what a difference if you have a parent that knows thought work, and if you have children, especially of the age where you still have influence over educating them on their thoughts and feelings. I just really cannot imagine a better gift for yourself, for the relationship with as being a parent, and just for the world at large, and helping others.
Yeah. Yeah. Helping them get through that. And then hopefully it's something they'll use through their middle period, that 30 to, I don't know, 60 or 70 range.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm
And
like,
then
oh, I'm getting close to that age.
let's push it off, that 70 to
Mhm.
anyway, they can, really be practiced at it by then. But the key, I think, is learning to have a relationship with yourself.
100%. 100%.
How do we do that?
Look inward, as long as you're looking externally to feel validated or to create the experience, that's all fine and good. But in the end, it's not sustainable. That the relationship you have with yourself is the most long lasting, the most important relationship there is. And I'm like pointing the finger at myself right now. Kind of doing some self-coaching on the fly here. But again, it's I'm going to scroll here. This Hockley, Dr. Hockley, she talks about if we thought of loneliness as, when we check in, to think of it like a hunger signal, right? Not that we're hungry in the sense to feed ourselves.
Well,
but the indicator, right? Corinne
yeah.
teaches us, it's our indicator light to check under the hood, pop the hood, what's going on. And so if we think of it as just that kind of signal to check in, and it's the quality of, needing to reach out socially for what I need. It's a biological signal.
Yes.
What you need, and that humans survive better with humans.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where I think the buffering many times comes in. I mean, it's very much like a hunger signal, right? We start to manufacture it. Is that a hunger signal, or am I just trying to soothe something?
Yes. And she even said something about, to question, are your relationships as satisfying as a celery stalk or something like that? Like, but just equating it with like, it's
my relationships are better than a celery stalk. It's kind of the low end for me.
Right? Like, there's that feeling, what an empty relationship that is. Is your relationship with yourself as satisfying as a stalk of celery?
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Huh. Well, it certainly puts it in perspective.
Right. I would like I don't know. I would like to upgrade from celery for sure. I don't know what I would pick, but
yeah. But, spending time alone and in reflection, this is one of the proofs to me that loneliness is, a thought. Well, it comes from a thought. It's a feeling that comes from a thought, because, you see a lot of religious groups, think of monks or nuns who cloister themselves away, or just a lot of religious groups who do some kind of solitary experience where they go off and they're by themselves, and that's a restorative period for them. It's not a punishment.
right.
And
Like the 12 days of not speaking or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And people will do it longer than that. So, if it's all in how you're looking at it, if you're looking at it as a way to restore yourself, then you're not having health issues caused by it. The health issues are caused by that thought, I'm alone, I'm rejected from society, I am an outcast,
Nobody likes me. Right. I'm not lovable.
Nobody loves me. Yeah.
I have no friends.
Yeah. Those are dangerous thoughts. And you called it a thought loop earlier. And I think that's where the real danger comes in, is we jump on that loop and we don't do anything to stop it.
Right. And we just keep building evidence to support that.
Yes.
And look, and again, it's that looking outward and not giving yourself the right questions to evaluate the relationship. And what am I not getting? What do I really need?
Yeah.
How can I, one, use my words if it is with a relationship with someone else? How can I check in with that person? And then how can I check in with myself?
Yes.
And the quality of the question.
Yeah. And that's, this is not going to be a surprise for our regular listeners, but that's where journaling can be so important.
Mm-hmm. Connection.
Yes. Connection with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we're just sitting around or driving or thinking, we can't always access those deeper thoughts like we can when we're writing them on paper. And there's a lot of biology and psychology behind why that is, but writing those things down, what do I need? What do I need to feed myself? Not with food,
right,
but with connection.
Right. Checking in with yourself.
Yeah. And finding it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Long dramatic pause here.
I know.
Wait, since you're going to clip it, let me scan my notes.
Yeah.
And so, that's where it creates this cognitive distortion where, your thoughts and your beliefs put you in a state of being in victim mentality, not taking ownership of what you can take authority over. And again, look externally to find your needs when you can meet them internally.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's a big one that when we let our brains just run free and unmanaged, we can find evidence for all kinds of negativity.
Yeah.
And, you can go back and listen. We did that one on victim mentality pretty recently, I think. But that's one of the many places that our brains go when we start telling ourselves that I'm lonely and it's because I'm unlovable, or, I've just been rejected by the world. Woe is me. And you have to do something at that point to stop yourself and say, we are stopping the loop here.
Y'all aren't seeing my hands.
We're matching here. We're chopping with our
chop the loop. Again, coming back to that sense of self-control. Yeah. This is not happening to you, right? This is happening for you. What can you learn about yourself and process through this? And again, I want to come back to the commonality. You are not alone in your aloneness.
I love that.
It's like, if we all just take that, again, I come back to when I was pregnant and like worried how that baby was going to come out. And I found a lot of comfort in knowing that millions upon millions of women survived that state. I can too. Yeah. And that's what I find in knowing that all human brains experience this, that it's normal. And that feels very grounding. And when I come from a place of that normal, neutral space, this is not a problem. And I can see my way through the experience with much more clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a state of being. It is simply an emotion. And I'm going to lean into that emotion, even though it's achy. And even that, or for me, it's achy and it's heavy, but I'm going to lean into it because it's also a moment, an opportunity for discovery.
100%.
Curiosity.
One thing we didn't touch on, and I wanted to, since many of our listeners may have children, and why, again, like having conversations with them, is to consider, like, looking back in our teen years, when that feeling of loneliness, and children teens will feel that too, and they will find themselves compromising themselves to want to fit into a group,
Oh,
their
yeah.
peers. And if they don't have the capacity to be courageous and stand alone and be okay with their aloneness from the
Yes.
group, that's where they might try fitting in a different way that doesn't serve them and with their long-term goals.
Yeah, that's a type of buffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's so peer pressure is such a big deal. That's a great connection. I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah,
Because that signal, that biological signal of loneliness tells us, even though they may be aware that my group of people are over here doing this and I want to fit in,
yeah,
because if I don't fit in, then I'm going to be out.
kicked out of the tribe.
Right. That it's just really good awareness. Again, thinking about taking it back to teaching your children about themselves and
Yeah.
about thoughts and feelings and ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is those teenage years, for whatever reason, are those moments where we feel very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that loneliness is easy. And even if you're standing alone and you're courageous, you're still feeling the loneliness, right? That those are both in there. They're existing at the same time usually.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Anything else we want to talk about with loneliness and thought work? I think the thing that I really want to leave people with is that it's a part of our journey. It's a negative feeling that's just a part of being in this world, being in the community. And I love the way you say we're never alone at feeling alone.
Right.
But we can use it as a real growth moment. If we dig into it, if we journal, why am I feeling alone? Is this really true?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Questioning that feeling, or is it caused in the moment for some reason? Am I facing some kind of difficulty? Am I facing, with the holidays? Am I facing some kind of new challenge for me?
Mm-hmm. And holding that space of curiosity, exactly what you're doing, and not judging it, not jumping to conclusions and going down the wormholes and spiraling into some shitty story.
Yeah.
But holding that space, and what do I really need? Am I making enough time for myself? Am I connecting with myself and my peers?
Yes.
Where can I spend more time with myself today? Whatever that may look like. Pen and paper. Who can I connect with?
Yeah.
It's a connection feeling, y'all. That's a bottom line. Who can I connect with? How can I connect with myself more?
Yeah, because connecting with self is just as important. I talk about a lot in my commute, but I turn off the radio and the podcast and all of that on a regular basis and just drive with my thoughts sometimes, just so I can stop and hear them. What is that story that's going on in my brain right now? And sometimes I kind of laugh at what it is. I didn't even know that was rumbling around in there.
I got your polo the other day you were in traffic.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I would love to have a commute.
Well, again, we have the opportunity to
not a 2-hour one, but
no, but we have the opportunity to connect with ourselves, whether it's on a drive or whether it's, working from home and spending that time really figuring out what is this emotion.
Yeah, my emotion is telling me to get out of the house and break the monotony. You need to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine is telling me, man, this is the only day I don't have to drive to Nashville this week. And I am so happy to be here. So, again, folks, it's all just based on our thoughts.
Right.
All right. If you are looking for coaching, you can certainly find me to coach you through loneliness or any women's empowerment issue at SonyaGreenCoaching.com.
And if you would like to coach with me, you can find me through the No BS weight loss program. And I would be happy to coach you on anything that comes up. And loneliness is a common feeling that is coached on in weight loss as you are developing relationship with yourself. And you can find me either at No BS weight loss program or Instagram, just Judy, JustJudie. Follow me there.
Yeah. And I am at Sonya_Green Coaching. I always forget that Instagram, but you're right.
Yeah.
Also, we have had some momentous growth this year for which I have an immense amount of gratitude to our listeners. And so we would ask that you continue to share our podcast with your friends, with people on Instagram or on Facebook, that you send us those reviews on iTunes. We appreciate it so much. We have been overwhelmed by our growth this year.
It's exciting.
It's
so exciting. It's quite
it's hard to feel alone, isn't it?
I like the dopamine hit.
Yeah, it's awesome. So if you can share that with somebody, the holidays are a lonely time. Maybe somebody needs to know that they don't have to feel lonely, that there is a way out of this.
Sure. Yeah, even when you send that sentence though, I'm like, holidays are a lonely time or alone. One word, 2 words or one, you decide.
Yeah. Yeah. and it's all a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
agreed.
So anyway, share those episodes and we will see you next week.
Bye.